Okay, hi Richard, we're back again. A few months ago, the BBC got in contact with me, and the reason why they got in contact with me was because I did an interview with this guy called William, who is an incel who talks to the media about what it's like to be an incel. And that happened after the Alec Manassian mass killing. And they wanted to make a documentary, BBC Three, about incels. And they said to him, you know, who do you know who would be willing to talk about incels on the TV? Who's an ally to incels? Who's not an incel? So he suggested me, because I had a chat with him. And then I met you at Messages from Men.
I told you my story.
Yeah, you came up to me and told me your story.
Yeah.
Because you'd seen the interview with William, right?
Yeah. I think I told Elizabeth my story as well.
Yeah, probably did.
Yeah.
Elizabeth is another organiser at Messages from Men. And after that, and then after the BBC got in contact with me, I was like, okay, maybe Richard would want to be in the film, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to be in the film, I was representing people who define themselves as incels properly. And I just thought, well, if you're willing, and you were willing, because you said to me, I want to talk about my story, I want to put myself out there. So then we met up with
Simon and Thomas.
I
keep saying Thomas.
Are we allowed to say their names?
They're out there in public, so
yeah, I mean, they're on the credits. They're on the credits, right? Yeah. So we met up with them. They came over to my house, right? And you came over, and we had a chat. And then they said that they would like to film you
at my house,
at your house, and maybe in a scenario where you're doing something in your daily life. Because they were saying that this was going to be a kind of documentary where they follow you around, interview you, you know, I don't know what you call that in the film world, but it's like a fly on the wall kind of.
Yeah, it's a soap doc.
A soap doc, yeah. So we did that. We went to your house, and I also invited my friend Sam.
Yeah, he kind of took over it.
Yeah, he talks a lot. Yeah, he'll appreciate that. And I thought that the dynamic between the three of us would be good. Now, granted, you said to me just now that you did say a lot during that filming session.
Yeah.
Me and Sam probably spoke too much, but
I'm more comfortable in settings like this. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they probably would have liked to have filmed you maybe like this. I'm not sure. But at the time, we were discussing the fact that we wanted to do an interview like this, right?
Yeah.
And Thomas was saying, can we be in the background? Can we film the interview while you do it? And I wasn't sure at the time.
I think I was surprised at that. Because you're kind of like, forceful? I thought you told them to do one.
Well, I didn't tell them to do one. I just said, look, if we want to do this interview, it would change things if you're here. And also, they wanted to do it by a certain date. And I was just like, look, if you want to film Richard, then you set something up, you do something. And, if you want to use the interview footage, you can use some of the footage in your film, that's fine, because it will be on YouTube or something. But so I just told them that I wasn't pleased with doing it like that. Also, there are issues with who owns the copyright, the footage.
Because they did Josh O'Brien a bit dirty.
Yeah, Josh O'Brien.
Yeah.
So Josh O'Brien, I hope he's okay with us mentioning him, but I think he was filmed by the BBC.
Yeah. He got a YouTube strike by the BBC.
Yeah, and they didn't use his footage in the end. What happened with that? I can't remember.
Reggie H was in his room watching him do his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He said Josh was an angry young man, but Josh wasn't angry at the time, so...
So they misrepresented him?
They tried to slander him.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, I think at the time, I was just a bit concerned about how they were pressurising us. I was like, I invited you to be involved in the film, but the way that they were
trying to manoeuvre,
it was a bit
manipulative.
I wasn't comfortable. I mean, it's the BBC, so I'm already suspicious, right? But I did film the whole session when they came to your house. So we have got, that was like over an hour.
That got recorded.
We've got that recorded.
Yeah.
I've got it at home, and you've got some audio as well, right? Anyway, and they also filmed you
walking
down the street in Woolwich, where you live.
They had me stop by the DLR to do like one of those 360 shots. So I was like, I think they were going to do like a narration over it as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the narration was going to be anyway, so.
Well,
it's going to be like something slanderous anyway, so.
Well, we don't know. Maybe, because we know that the BBC can be outrightly slanderous, but then sometimes it's subtle.
But you said I can get them done for a hate crime.
Did I?
Yeah.
Because
I'm black and I'm disabled.
Oh yeah, possibly. Yeah. Well, in the end, they decided not to use you.
Oh, that's because I quote unquote lawyered up. So I got my social worker involved. The BBC psychologist said they washed you too soon and too fast. So he yelled at, well, not yelled at, but had a talking to the producers.
Right.
So,
okay.
Because he had my welfare. Like he was worried about me, like being taken advantage of by those two. So, and I got my social worker involved as well. And he was worried about. He said out and outright that it was going to be a hit piece. So yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think they got mad because I lawyered up.
Well, I suppose they're not lawyers, but yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I got some protection.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because I said to you just now, when they were like, "Oh, can we do the film?" It was just
special.
There was putting pressure, and that's how they work. They're like, okay, the person who they're filming, they want involved in the film. They put pressure on them, and then they kind of create a sense of urgency, and they say, if you don't do it by this date, then you won't be in it, or they infer that you won't be in it. So like they cut you out. You're not in the film.
I think I was talking to someone on Discord, and he watched the documentary. He said, I think they cut you out for Catfish Guy because it's more interesting.
So let's talk about the documentary and Catfish Guy.
Yeah.
Right. So let's start from the start of the documentary. Yeah. So they start off by building up some drama, talking about Alec Manassian and Elliot Roger and all the kind of media hype, and they show some text on the screen where they're like, with the increase of online hate and misogyny, and they build it up. That's what they do because they're creating drama in their documentary. And then they mention the definition of what an incel is. So let me tell you what they said, right? And you can tell me what you think. They said that incels are people who are frustrated by the lack of opportunities to have sex or relationships.
I say it's the other way around. They've given up.
They've given up?
Yeah. Because they've been rejected so many times, and the rejections haven't been so nice. So they think all women are like that. So. Okay.
According to InCel Wiki, an incel is someone who is sexually rejected for sex or a relationship by the vast majority of the members of the gender that they are attracted to. So in your case, for example, you would say that you are not attractive to the vast majority of women, and that is the gender that you're attracted to. Yeah? So, first of all, they've got the definition, I think, of an incel incorrect. Because how can you be involuntarily celibate if the only thing you're frustrated by is the lack of opportunities for a relationship and or sex? They're not saying oh, that someone who is an incel is frustrated because other people don't want to have sex with them or a relationship with them. They're saying that they are frustrated at the lack of opportunities. Can you see how, like, they've twisted it, very subtle, and it infers that it's an issue of you being in the wrong place or the wrong time, or, you know, you might be disabled and can't walk very well, so therefore you don't have the opportunity to socialise.
That industry counts more and more.
But an incel is someone who is involuntarily celibate, meaning that they have tried to get with the opposite sex, but failed, and they are not found attractive by the vast majority of that opposite sex or the gender that they're attracted to, because we are talking about people that might be attracted to the same gender, maybe, so they start off the documentary with the wrong definition, and I'm watching it and I'm just like, okay, now I know what it is they were trying to do here.
That's why I was cut out from the movie.
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, I think the fact that you're a psychologist, a social worker, had a go at them is probably
he was a psychologist from the BBC, so he was like an independent psychologist.
Yeah.
So he had a go at two of them.
Or at least
he's worked on Autistic Me, Autistic Gardener, Autistic Disco. He's worked on all of the autistic programs, so he has to watch out for everybody. Everybody, see if they're ready to go on TV. So since they pressured me a lot, he was like not happy when he was doing the assessment. So so yeah.
Okay. Well, at least he's doing his job.
Yeah.
Okay, and then after that, they start saying that the incel issue is being driven by online misogyny and hate. And then they start talking about Elliot Rodger. So what were you thinking when you saw that the first thing they do is start talking about Elliot Rodger?
I was like, here we go again.
Here we go again, exactly.
Yeah.
So first of all, for those of you who don't know, Elliot Rodger, when he committed his horrible crime, his mass killing,
he mostly killed men.
He mostly killed men, but also he didn't identify as an incel. He was promoted in the media as a men's rights activist.
But they found a new word.
Or a pickup artist.
They found a new word in the dictionary.
And now they've got a new word for him.
So they went after MGTOW, they went after word pillars, they went after pickup artists, they went after men's rights, and incel seems to stick.
Right, well, I guess I would say that the term incel is probably the closest to his situation. Because he does say in the videos he released online that none of the girls wanted to be with him.
But women can smell crazy a mile off, so that might have something to do with it.
What do you mean?
Women have this like natural instinct to spot the crazy ones, and I think Elliot Rodgers was like oozing crazy. That's why they avoided him, even though he had money and status.
Yeah.
They avoided him like the plague. That's why he was mad. So.
It's interesting though, because there are lots of women out there who are attracted to very violent and dangerous men.
But he was only like 17 at the time, 18. So I don't think his age group wouldn't be attracted to him at that time. So yeah.
So you know that guy, was it Nicholas Cruz?
Yeah. Was it the truck guy?
No, that's Alec Manassian.
Oh, I don't know him. No.
So there was another guy who did a shooting in his school. Now, I'm not suggesting that he was an incel. I think the documentary tries to suggest that this guy might be. They don't mention him by name, but they do mention it.
He was bullied a lot at school.
Yeah.
I think by those two kids that do the activism.
Or do you remember when that happened after that America had this massive lobbying effort about gun control, and those two young people were at the forefront?
They were the ones that bullied him.
Yes.
So yeah.
But
allegedly.
Well, after he went to prison, he started to get loads of fan mail from girls wanting to be his girlfriend.
Yeah, because girls were crazy like that.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, even though it's obvious that Elliot Rodger had a high degree of narcissism, he might even be a sociopath. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a psychologist, but it was definitely narcissistic. I could tell that because I actually took the time to read his manifesto.
Yeah, you can't read it now.
You can't?
No, it's been deleted. It's been unpersoned.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't tried to look for it because I read
like
it at
that,
the time.
It's like that other manifesto that you can't read, and if you look it up, you get a knock on the door.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll look into that because I didn't know that you can't find it anymore.
No, and if you do try, if you do try and you get like a.
From who?
Police.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what happened in.
What's the name of the police group now that monitors these things?
Internet.
No, there's a name.
Okay.
What are they called?
I have no idea.
When you get referred to them for extremism.
Oh, okay. I have no idea.
I've forgotten. Anyway, but yeah. So obviously, if you were a healthy girl who just, wants a boyfriend, wants a relationship with a normal guy, I can see how Elliot Rodger would be off-putting.
Yeah.
I'm just watching his video and reading his manifesto. He had
He's scary.
He seemed scary. Yeah. He seemed particularly messed up.
But the Alex guy, he has autism and learning difficulties, and he was bullied. So when he was bullied once, he was trying to laugh at himself to be part of the group.
Yeah.
But the group still rejected him. So. Because that what happened to me during school.
So I guess what you're saying is that Alec Manassian and Elliot Rodger are two completely different people and two different ends of the spectrum in terms of one guy who is not popular with the ladies because he is a narcissist.
But Alex wasn't popular with anybody.
And Alec Manassian was just a loner who had autism.
Learning
difficulties as well. And was bullied. Was Elliot Rodger bullied as well? I don't know.
He was abused by his stepmom.
Well, we know he was abused by his stepmom.
And his dad did nothing to it. So, because his stepmom resented him. And I think that's why he killed Asian men only.
He only killed Asian men?
Yeah, that's why, But that doesn't get out in the press.
No, that's not that particular part.
Allegedly.
Well, but that's a good point to mention, is that they are completely different situations, right? But what do they have in common?
Loneliness.
Yeah.
Desperation. Anger. And you don't matter to society.
You don't matter to society.
If you're a guy.
If you're a guy.
If you're a woman. It's like, if you're a white woman, the world's open to you.
Pretty much.
You can get away with rape, child molestation, murder, everything.
Well, this is what struck me about this documentary. I mean, obviously we didn't expect much because we knew that it's the BBC. But they go through the whole documentary and they don't mention anything to do with
the empathy
gap towards men and all of the other social political factors that have contributed to why there's a widening group of young men these days who don't feel like they have any respect or any place in the world, and that no one loves them. No one wants them.
Women are more open about the hypergamy now than ever.
Let's go back to the Catfish guy, right? Yeah. Catfish guy was the first guy they put in the speech in the documentary, and Catfish guy, for you guys, if you haven't seen the documentary yet, he basically spends his time on dating apps and he poses as a male model.
Yeah.
And then he meets up with the women.
And he laughs at them.
And then he laughs at them and films their reaction. Now, I'm smiling because I think that there's some. It's funny.
It's just payback.
But it is kind of fucked up. Oh, sorry. It's kind of messed up.
To go through that and waste his time to do it. So.
This guy is not spending. He's taking time out of his day to extract revenge onto these girls who are shallow.
Because he had like an ex-girlfriend that, what did Aaron Pissy say about domestic violence? Women usually start it.
Women usually start it, initiate the violence, and then men usually finish it.
I think that's what happened in this relationship. The woman was like domestically abusing him. So she got like I don't know if she was abusing him or it's like both.
I got the impression from the film that it was reciprocal.
Yeah.
But he's the one with the restraining order.
Yeah.
But we don't know the truth, right? Yeah. Either way, I'm glad he's not in the relationship anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm glad the female is not in the relationship anymore because quite clearly they were not good together. Yeah. Whoever was abusing who, right? But I don't think it's an accident that they featured him quite prominently.
Because he was more interesting than the others.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's literally catfishes women. Yeah.
Why did he have...
just like, I understand why he's doing it though.
But
because he mentions the 80-20 rule thing, where the fact that, the Asperger's guy mentions it, that on apps like Tinder, 20% of men are getting 80% of the women. Yeah. So if you're in that 80% as a man, you just feel
you're pretty much screwed.
Well, you just feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
At least online, anyway. Mm-hmm. And since most people are using online to date do the majority of their dating now, this is one of the reasons why guys feel like it's hopeless, right? Yeah.
And plus, all male spaces are banned, so men can't like congregate in like senses by themselves without women supervision.
Yeah.
So and men have to bend the knee every time. So.
Well, that's a good point, right? If men are not allowed to have their own spaces anymore, they can't have members' clubs.
No.
I mean, they still exist, but their days are numbered, right?
They're still like gentlemen clubs, well, not that type of gentlemen clubs.
No,
where they
clubs.
Where they have the leather seats, and they smoke in a pipe and read a newspaper. Those still exist. So if you go
but their numbers are dying. There used to be a lot more.
Yeah. I think back in 1664, a group of women shut down a coffee house because the men were congregating there all the time. So, but women had power back then. So.
They did?
Yeah.
Women definitely had power before they gained universal suffrage.
It's like every generation, people put the neutralizer on everybody. So, you know the neutralizer on Men in Black? They erase people's memories. So every generation is like, oh, the thing's wearing off again. So every generation, every woman will say, but it was like, we had it worse back then than you, but you didn't have to go to war. You didn't have to give up stuff. So men had to sacrifice a lot.
Men have had to sacrifice a lot.
Even during World War One, they had the White Feather campaign. So the youngest person they did the White Feather campaign was 10 years old, and he killed himself by jumping off a bridge because of the shame.
That's horrible.
Yeah. It got so bad, the government had to issue badges, even though the government funded the White Feather movement into shaming men who were not in uniform to fight for war. During World War II, before they went to war, men would see like a prostitute because they were virgins. So they would like line up the block to lose their virginity before they go to war. So because it was like mandatory in World War II to go to war.
Yeah. I can imagine that if you were a man and you were a virgin and you were thinking, I've got to go off to war, what have I not done yet? That must have been a really weird feeling.
Yeah. But I think prostitution was accepted back then. It was like it's like an unspoken thing. That was like.
Well, I mean, to what extent do you think prostitution is accepted these days?
Just decriminalise it.
You want it to be decriminalised?
Not like fully legalised, but decriminalised it.
And do you think that would help the incel community if it was decriminalised?
No, because incels want a connection with somebody for most of the time. So they don't want sex. They want a connection. Yeah. So that's what most men are missing these days.
I think that they want to be valued as people. They want a connection with someone. They want to be validated by having a relationship with the person that they're attracted to. You know, it's about way more than just getting your rocks off.
Because there's a couple of people on the forums that have done that and they got like tired of it and they wanted a relationship, but the girl didn't. So it's like the roles reversal. So it was a woman that wanted the relationship and the guy just wanted sex. Now it's flipped.
Well, I've seen quite a lot of that happening actually.
Yeah.
Where it's the woman who's rejecting the guy when the friends with benefits scenario, a casual relationship, you know, and she's like, no, I don't really want to have a relationship yet, you know, I just want to be young, free and single, etc. And the guy's the one who wants to have a girlfriend. They're going to
regret that in their 30s.
Right. Well, this is one of the things that I'm sure that the psychologist featured in the documentary will say is horrible misogyny. But this is the information that a lot of incels and people in the men's rights community and the red pill in general, that they talk about hypergamy and they talk about how women, as they get older, become less attractive to men. Yeah? And they talk about this concept of the wall.
The wall is not looks, in a way, it's more about your biological clock.
Yeah. So it's about the fact that when a woman hits between 30 to 35, or maybe slightly older than 35, that the amount of eggs that she has, ovaries reduces, and she becomes less attractive to men in general. And they don't talk about any of this stuff in the documentary, which I'm not surprised about. They don't talk about the fact that young men think that most young men think that, you know, when they leave school, or at least when they're in high school or college, that they're just going to find a girlfriend
and get
a job, and it's all going to be quite easy. But in the past, we had all kinds of social pressures and institutions that promoting us to get married quite young. Now we don't have that at all, right? And so women are just able to do whatever they want, which is completely fine.
But men are still stuck in that
provider role. But men are still expected to be providing, and they're still stuck, and societal expectations are more or less the same.
I was retarded. Huh? I thought I was retarded.
They're more or less the same for men
as they have
ever been.
Even more so.
Well, even more so in some ways, but not in others, right?
Because a woman's not attracted to a man. If he does the housework, I'm talking about indoor housework, the woman gets less attracted to the man.
Yeah, there has been studies that show that a man who does more domestic work is less sexually attractive to his
but
wife.
They keep nagging, so it's like a catch-22.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that most of them probably are nagging, and I don't know, yeah. But, you know, like, they don't talk about the situation for young men now and what has changed over the last 50 years, which means that guys that probably would never have been incel in the past are now probably an incel, or at least they feel like they are. Because we discussed this last time, right? How there are guys in society who have always been incel and always probably will be, and then there are guys who are temporarily incel. So then there are guys who think they're incel, but not necessarily. If all they needed to do was work on their confidence, you know, earn a bit more money or something, then they'll be fine. But their perception of what women want has changed. Yeah. And they think there's not a lot of room for them to be less than compared to the past, right? Yeah. Because women's expectations
have gotten much bigger.
Have got much wider and bigger compared to how they used to be, right?
Yeah. Because they watch like soaps all the time and reality TV, and they look staring at TV and watching the TV and saying, "I deserve that lifestyle."
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm saying is that women are being encouraged to be to look for status.
And they've been lied to for 50 years. So
and they've been lied to for 50 years about feminism.
But the feminists said you can have it all, and you can't have it all. And once women accept that, I think things will be fine.
Well, yeah. Then this is the thing. Like, we can. I mean, I am definitely anti-feminist, but if feminism came along and said, "Hey, look, we're going to remove women from their social expectations and legal expectations,"
That's done.
and then we'll do exactly the same for men. Now, I think that's a bad idea.
It screws up the.
However, at least it was real equality, right? Real egalitarian equality, and it would be, at least it'd be even. But that's not what's happened.
It screws up the habitat.
Well, yeah, it does. But I'm just saying it's not what's happened at all. All the young men who are online and looking at the world thinking, I've got no place in it. I'm being told that my masculinity is toxic. I see misandry all around me all the time.
Remember what I told you about toxic masculinity yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of got that, so I spoke to you in the afternoon. So before that, I was thinking about toxic masculinity and all that stuff. So that took me 2 hours to form in my head, and I was able to say what I said to you. So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you are letting me know how long it takes for you to gather your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I wonder if anyone watching this film still might say, if you did this, if you did that, you'd be able to have a successful
I've done
relationship.
everything, so shut up.
Well, you are being looked after, and you're getting help. You have a psychologist, you have a social worker. You've had all this society support, right?
Yeah.
But
Nothing's helped.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think I would be doing this 5 years ago. So
things have improved for you then, because we said that last time.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to point out is that in the film, we hear from someone who they don't actually really identify who he is. This is what they don't mention in the film. They don't mention that these feelings and this view and this perception, right, is way more widespread than they ever want to admit.
Because every day men get told they're crap, they're not nothing, you shouldn't exist. I don't trust women to a point. So, yeah.
What did you say, sorry?
I don't trust women to a point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's because if I said that out in public, people call me a misogynist and stuff. So, and I don't really care. I don't really care at this point. So.
Well, this is what the film talks about: is the prevalence of misogyny online. But they don't talk about the reason why misogyny might be increasing.
But they don't go on the women forums. There's a lot of Cassandras on there, like Momsnet. Momsnet, I see a thread like my husband's pestering me for sex. The thread would be like bin him, bin him, bin him, bin him, bin him. So, and the opposite would be like my husband doesn't give me sex. It's like, it's your way as a woman to have sex, blah 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 blah. So it flips.
Right.
So every thread is like that. So.
I think what you're displaying, right, and what you're talking about is, if for example, Catfish Guy, we can agree that Catfish Guy is messed up. Okay, he has problems and he probably needs some help. However, if that's what's being mirrored to him all the time, women who don't care about his feelings, they don't have any empathy for his situation, right, whatsoever, what incentive does he have to go out there and be nice to them?
Yeah. I had to stop reading Momsnet for a while.
Oh, Momsnet can be frustrating. I'm in some groups on Facebook, right, that are about women who've got abusive parents, right? So it's like, support your sisters who've got abusive parents and talk about your experiences. Yeah, which is kind of what the InCel forums do.
To a point.
But all the advice given on there is always like,
cut contact.
No, it's not that necessarily. That is some of the advice given, but it's always like, oh, don't be judgmental. You can't say anything. So if I ever want to say anything that may be a bit of a criticism or just a bit of a pushback about what that woman might be saying.
But you guys are always judgmental, so
Well,
most of the time.
But only towards men, right? Because
to other women as well.
well, not on these groups though. In these groups, I have been told off so many times because I've been too judgmental to my fellow sisters.
I hate that.
Well, you know, women basically encourage other women to self-censor around other women all the time. At least online, anyway.
But not in real life. No.
Well, it depends. It depends on the situation. It's just, you know, I sometimes I despair because I don't know what I'm doing. But, you know, like, then they talk to a guy in the documentary from Northern Ireland who's got really bad acne skin condition.
Yeah, that's why he got rejected.
Yeah, well, he also talks about his childhood and how he had a bad childhood and how he recognises that contributes to how he views himself. And then towards the end, he has found a girlfriend online.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he does meet her or anything.
He does meet her, but not in the documentary.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you watched his videos?
No. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he says that incels like him just need to talk about their problems and find someone who cares.
That's never going to happen.
Well, I guess this happened for him because he has gone out there.
It's the exception to the rule.
But, you know, I think that he is an example of someone who probably has more...
Plus, he works out as well, so...
Well, he's been working out, and he seems like a nice guy. And I wish him all the best. I think he's probably doing much better than he was. But what I didn't like was when Simon was talking to him.
He tried to push him.
And he was trying to make him feel guilty about the song he made about Alex.
He was a little bit guilty, but then he snapped out of it.
Yeah?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that disappointed me because Simon, in all the times that he keeps talking to the incels he interviews, seems to be pushing this idea that they should feel guilty about possibly dehumanising the women that they're talking about.
But that's like a woman type thing to do. So.
But yeah. And this is what I wanted to say in the interview, is that, in this conversation, is that, like, these men are always being dehumanised all the time.
But men in general are dehumanised.
Yeah, men in general are being dehumanised, and then now incels are being dehumanised, okay? So why should they rise above that? If that's what's being done to them, what incentive do they have to not do that to? Why should they humanise all the women around them if most women are accepting the dehumanisation of men around them? They don't have any incentive, no motivation. Yeah. So, you know, it takes a really strong person with with strong principles and morals to always be the bigger man. But I very much believe that you treat people how you want to be treated when you first meet them. And then after that, mirror back what they do to you. Obviously, if it's illegal and it's violent, you don't do that. But I'm talking about how they treat you as a person. So if they're constantly treating you like crap, then, you know, if you're forced to interact with them, you treat them like crap back. Or you just cut ties with them entirely. But if this is what's being mirrored to men in general in society, and then you've got guys who are a bit hard done by for various reasons and who are just not that attractive in general, or have to work harder than other guys to become attractive, then you're not really providing them with any incentive or motivation to get better at all. Why should they bother? Right?
And men are entitled to do that, to like exit from society.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, why? They don't have to be a participant in mainstream society if they don't want to.
They can just exit and go online and stuff like that. So,
I mean, and also, like, why can't they be misogynists?
Because women can be misandrous all the time.
Women are allowed to be misandrous.
Even on TV.
Women are allowed to say on TV that they hate men. They might get pushed back, but they're
A
still
little
allowed
bit.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're allowed to have forums where they want to kill 90% of the male population if they're a radical feminist.
Yeah. Or if they're just women in general.
But as soon as men start saying anything close to that,
It's misogyny.
it's misogyny, and shut it down, censor the internet, and that's
The internet was fine before women joined. I'm being truthful on that. Because I've been on the internet since 95. So before women joined it was like...
Well, women not on the internet in 1995.
Not in the numbers that they are in now. But once the internet went mobile, that's when it went all tits up.
Right.
Because when the internet went mobile, women could have like something in their hand.
That's true. I spend a lot of my time breastfeeding my son and then on my phone.
So that's where you get the
That is true.
So that's why you get the banned porn thing a lot. So, but if they did that, they'd be like one internet website that bring back. If they did it, there'd be like one internet site left called Bring Back the Porn.
Bring back the porn.
If the feminists get their way and if women get their way in general, because women have all these set aids, like to help them and stuff like that. If men get one of them, we get laughed at all the time. So and porn is one of those aids. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I know that you are really supportive of porn. I am a little bit more of a prude, where it's like I don't have a problem with porn existing, but I am concerned that people are using porn too much because it changes their brain.
Like the dopamine?
Yeah, changes the dopamine receptors in the brain, and so it can cause issues.
I've actually cut back, so...
Okay,
yeah.
Good. But still, like, that doesn't mean I want to ban it.
Yeah.
You know, I just think that people should be
It's
aware
like
of what it does.
women trying to ban working, well, they have banned working men's clubs, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, as you said, men are not allowed to have their safe spaces anymore.
What a woman says is usually projection. So, 9 times out of 10 is projection.
Am I projecting right now?
I don't know. So from banned porn, women should be paying more, even though it's been illegal since 1963 to pay women less. So, but
and these are just some of the numerous myths that feminists
the wage
promote
gap myth,
and the government accepts as truth. They don't talk about any of this stuff in the documentary.
Yeah. The race baiting that goes on as well.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they were all white males. It's not well.
I'm trying to get blocked.
I suppose Elliot Roger was half Asian.
Yeah. No. His stepmother was Asian.
Oh, sorry. Alec Manassian was not white though, was he?
But
still.
I'm trying to get blocked by David Lemmy and Femi. So every time they do like a Brexit rant, I type "we" every time. So "we" is like autistic screeching.
Yeah.
So every time they do a Brexit, and I troll James O'Brien as well. From LBC.
Oh God, it's like just there. Why?
He's every time.
He loves it. He loves it.
He hasn't responded to any of my autistic tweets yet, so neither has Femi or David Lemmy. But Jeff Phillips did block me.
Yeah, well, he blocks everyone.
Yeah, because I was on a block bot list, so the block bot blocked me.
But why do you think they just chickened out and didn't feature anything to do with feminism, women's hypergamy?
It's the BBC, so.
But that's all we spoke about, me, you and Sam, isn't it, really?
Because I said InCel's the only group that you don't want to be a part of.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. All right, The other thing that I thought was interesting in the documentary was when the Asperger's guy, so there was this guy who had Asperger's.
You can't remember his name, so sorry,
I can't remember his name right now.
Sorry,
I'm
Asperger's
just going
guy.
to call him Asperger's guy.
Yeah.
But he was the kind of like the token positive incel. So he was kind of like, you know, I'm an incel, but I'm not letting it affect my life. I'm not crazy like Catfish guy, and I'm not depressed like the guy from Northern Ireland. But he was, you know, living his YOLO life. He was they filmed him in a karaoke bar.
Yeah, they filmed him with dogs as well.
And he has dogs.
He did the circle thing that most autistics do anyway. So he is autistic. So
well, he said he was undiagnosed,
but most autistics
obvious.
do that circle thing where they're with a stick and they roll it around.
Yeah.
Because they get hypnotized by the patterns.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, he was saying that life is
80% rejection.
80% rejection, and life is pain, and it's really hard.
I kind of agree with him on that one.
Well, I kind of agree.
If you're a guy, if you're a woman, it's like sunshine and rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah, well, if you're a woman these days, it's just, you know, lots of messaging in the media and people around going, like, yeah, you go girl, you can do whatever you want. No one's ever going to tell you not to do anything.
And
you can have a career and you can go out with millions of men and you can travel the world and who cares? You don't have any responsibilities at all.
That sets a bad
accountability.
That sets a bad precedent.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is what it's like to be a woman these days. And it's hard, as a woman, it's hard not to just go along with it. Like, I could totally just go along with it if I wanted to.
Yeah, a couple.
But unfortunately, I seem to have developed some kind of conscience. I don't know where that came from.
I think you're the only woman that developed the conscience. So most women don't have conscience.
No. I don't think that's true.
I said most, not all.
No, but I don't think I'm the... No, that's not true. There's two more out there. Just two. No, I'm joking. No, but seriously, I do think that there are a lot of women who recognise this, but they don't... Some will do something about it. Some will do about it.
Yeah, some will do something about it. Some will just, like, be in denial.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a staged process, like in the Red Pill movie, where Cassie J is like, wait a minute, the people that are treating me the worst here are the feminists.
Because they pulled the funding for the movie.
Yeah, and so, you know, she shows the process of being red pilled, and then as a woman, you go through various stages.
But she still calls herself a feminist, so she's like Christina Hoff Sommers.
No, she said she doesn't call herself.
What, anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you remember that bit? That was like the cliffhanger at the end of the film.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in a while, so.
You think she's still a feminist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like sheep's in wolf clothing.
I don't know. I thought her experience was genuine, but I don't think she'll go as far as you'd like her to in some criticisms. But she was definitely a
because
huge benefit.
Originally, it was supposed to be a hit piece.
It was supposed to be a hit piece, and she developed a bit of a conscience throughout that whole thing.
And that's why they did fund her money. So.
Well, if only we could get every single woman in the West to go through that experience.
That's never going to happen.
Well,
that probably happened.
Try.
Yeah, that probably happened when I die. So.
Yeah, and let's remind everyone that you don't actually have that long until you're supposed to die.
But doctors kind of overestimate things anyway, so you never know.
You could live until you're like 80.
Knowing my luck, I probably will.
All right. So what else happened in the documentary that we haven't spoke about?
I think we talked about everything, mostly.
Well, the other bit we didn't talk about was the fact that the parents of one of the girls who was killed by Alec Manassian Alec Roger, I don't remember which one.
The dad got it, but the mother didn't.
Yeah, so the mother was talking about how her daughter was always someone who befriended outcasts, more or less. And the dad started talking about how he could empathise.
He was almost there.
He was almost there.
Yeah.
He was basically saying that these guys who committed this killing needed help and needed support.
But didn't get it.
And he said, suicide isn't the way to go, suicide isn't the way out, killing people isn't the way to go, they need help and need support. Now, don't you think that it's ironic that the only person in the whole film
Was the older male.
was this older white male whose daughter has been murdered?
He got enough courage to say that.
And and he had the ability to actually recognise that
men's suffering.
That the guys who committed this crime, or at least the guys in the incel community, need extra help, or something needs to be done, right? Because their numbers are increasing. I think their numbers are increasing. Do you think that's true?
There's been more people on the message board lately, so it's been slowing down.
Was that after the documentary, or was it just...
That was after the documentary, but after the CBC documentary, it got doxed.
Yeah.
So.
And do you think that, so like the psychologist who was in the film, said that she thinks that the incel community forums need to be monitored like they are indoctrinating and brainwashing and radicalising young people online.
They were already incels when they found the forum anyway, so.
Right. And do any of these forums, do you think they encourage people to go and commit mass killings?
They try and discourage that.
So this is the point that I thought she wasn't making very well, is no one is saying on these forums that there is not this grand manifesto and ideology where it says to be an incel, you must go and commit violent crime against
They
women.
try and encourage people to get out of the forums sometimes, but if you try and leave the forums, they try and the crabs in a bucket situation happens.
Right.
So that happens a lot. So, yeah.
Okay, but you cannot compare the
Incels
experience of incels with like radical Islam, for example. Like radical Islam online says if you go and bomb, the Crusaders, that's what they think Christians are. They go to a Crusader country. You're going to get 70 virgins.
It's 72.
72. When you die, go and do some jihad. No one is saying that.
I don't really see the point in the 70 virgin things.
Why?
Because they got no experience.
You just just prostitutes, who've been around the block instead.
You don't want a dead fish, like a girl, let's say like a dead fish.
So inappropriate. But seriously, how can she compare this very specific directive from a radical religion or a sect from a religion
It's only 10%
to just a group of guys online who have a hard time meeting women and attracting women?
And it's only 0.1% that does that anyway. So.
Exactly. It's kind of like if you have, a section, 100 men from the male population, one of them is going to become some kind of sociopath or have a tendency to commit a crime like this. And then a few of them might be rapists. But the rest of them are going to be normal, average guys who
don't get looking.
Who don't... Well, yeah. Who are just average guys, average jobs. Average builds. Who are just, have to compete for women.
Yeah. So you've got, even if it's a fat woman, you've got to accept her because you'd be called fat phobic.
Well, yeah, if you don't accept a woman, if you say to a woman, I don't really
want
to date you because I would like you to lose some weight first, you're going to get called fat. All kinds of bigotry there.
But you can reject a man on his height and tell him to die many times over, and society won't call you on it.
No, or they might, but they will say that it's kind of harmless, that it's women's prerogative to be that way.
They say it's a preference.
Yeah.
So it's like the racial preference as well. so they say it's a preference. So it's not racist, it's just a preference.
Yeah. So I was thinking, was there anything else that we missed that was in the documentary you wanted to talk about?
No. I think they still got the footage of me somewhere in their BBC archives, so they might release that in response to this.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Oh, okay.
We have got the footage of us being filmed.
Do you think the BBC are that bitter?
So I don't know if we're going to use that in this film. We might do.
Oh.
It's up to Tom.
Okay. So do you think the BBC are that like...
So can you give me like a summary of what you thought of the documentary that decided not to feature you?
I like the Asperger's guy.
The Asperger's guy was good?
Yeah. He reminded me of me. So like he reminded me of me 5 years ago. So Catfish guy was a bit meh. Irish guy was
mental.
Yeah. No, Irish guy was okay, but angry. But his anger was justified.
Yeah.
So yeah. I didn't like Simon, because he was pushing everything.
Yeah, Simon was trying to make people feel guilty, and Simon is the director of the film, who we know have met numerous times.
Hello.
Was talking to the people he was interviewing, and you could hear his voice in the background, and he kept prompting them to say, okay, but the women that you're talking about, or the women who were killed by Alec Manassian,
that could have been your sister, or something like that.
They were trying to make them feel guilty. And look, we don't support mass killing or murder or violence. I mean, obviously, we don't want anyone to go and do that. Okay? Like, no one. But I felt that it was insensitive of him to keep doing that. Yeah. Because this guy was listening to the song that he made, and he was saying, look, it was silly, I made the song, but I was angry, I was rageful. He didn't go out and kill everyone. Like,
a man's rage or anger isn't like accepted in society. So when women say men should show their feelings more, and that's all men have is anger and rage. So they don't like that. So when a woman yells at you and you let her back, she goes into she acts like a child. So like she was like forceful 1 second, and she acts like a child the next second when you yelled back. And that's what normally happens. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
And that guy from Northern Ireland was saying how, men need to open up a bit more, incels need to be able to get support. And he has found support online, so I'm really happy for him.
If they don't have the bend in the knee.
But I'm not sure that is going to solve the increasing problem of incels, because
women aren't going to change their attitudes anytime soon. So
yeah, and the documentary did not talk about
women's role
in it, and why this guy, the Catfish guy, for example, has so many women turning up to meet a male model. I mean, did you see how he was like, this woman's really fat. How could she think that if I was the male model, would want her?
Because women have delusions of grandeur.
Well, they do have delusions of grandeur. If I was on Tinder and I had a male model say, yeah, let's meet up, I would be like, no, really? Are you kidding me?
They hide their fat very well in the photos, so it depends where the angle is.
And have you seen the MTV show Catfish as well?
No, I don't.
I used to watch that back in the day.
But it's 2019. Who's getting catfished in 2019?
Well, it's really hard to get catfished these days because everyone's all over the place online. But I used to watch that show, and it was mostly young women that were catfishing everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, that guy got in trouble. This is not really to do with this, but this was interesting. He got in trouble, the guy that made that show, because he said that it was mostly black women doing it.
Yeah.
And he got in trouble for...
You can't criticise black women, so...
You're not allowed to criticise black women, nope.
You can criticise black men all you want.
Yeah, they're like the top victim, according to the hierarchy of intersectionality.
What's it? I think Trump tweeted about something a couple of days ago. It got AOC mad.
Oh yeah. Well, that's not really about incels.
Yeah, I know. But
he just said to
he didn't play anybody's names.
Alexandra and that Muslim chick. If they don't like it, they can leave the country.
But he didn't say anybody's name in the tweet. He didn't even imply it.
But the thing is, he was just saying if they're anti-American, they should leave.
Yeah.
And if they're both socialists or communists, that's pretty anti-American. So it was nothing to do with race.
Sorry, we're just going on a tangent.
Anyway, so, you know, my concluding thoughts about the documentary is that they didn't talk about the empathy gap towards men.
80-20 rule.
They didn't talk about the 80-20 rule. Or at
Women's
least
role.
one of the guys referenced it, but they didn't go into any more depth about it. They only concentrated on promoting this narrative that young men are being radicalised online and we need to have more censorship and control like we do over religious extremism. They did not mention feminism once.
No.
Or any of the entitlements or expectations that women have these days, which we think are unrealistic. They did not provide a balanced picture as to the environment that is causing the increase in inceldom. Yeah. You know, also the unrealistic expectations, I think, for men, because I think a lot of young men think that as soon as they are of dating age,
like 14,
that they should be out there dating, should be out there having fun, having sex,
or have a job,
and you know, and well, yeah, the job thing as well, but it's increasingly hard for young people to have that kind of lifestyle these days, and all the studies that have shown recently that there's been a third drop in young people having sex, young men especially.
Yeah.
So we're actually having less sex than we ever have.
Population.
But promoting this lifestyle in the media and on TV.
And on social media.
That is what we should be doing.
And in social media as well, they're promoting it. So
yeah. And
with like thoughts online.
And also now, you know, you're not trendy unless you're kind of gay or bisexual or gender fluid or trans.
What's gender fluid?
Oh, I don't even know.
Okay. That's a new one.
And so if everyone's concentrated on being like so woke all the time, you know, how on earth are they going to like find the time to actually go and have a relationship with someone, a deep and meaningful one, when they have all these shallow things they need to be promoting out to the world? Yeah, it's depressing, and that's kind of my conclusion, really.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Is there anything else to say? Because I think we got finished.
No, fine.